Of course. Here's section 1 of an original HFY-style story, following your criteria: clear narrative, character introduction, central conflict, vivid vocabulary, and tight prose under 1,600 words with no extraneous elements. The silence of the void was never silent. Aboard the Seraphim, Commander Ilya Mercer listened to the dull hum of the ship's core, the faint rhythmic thrum that reminded her they were still alive and adrift, barely, on the edge of known space. She stood at the viewport, arms folded, staring into the unblinking starlight as if it held answers. Behind her, the bridge was quiet, save for the occasional flicker of damaged consoles trying to reboot themselves. "They'll be back." The voice came from Lieutenant Ro Tanaka, her second-in-command, who approached with a caution she neither welcomed nor resented. Recon drone confirmed 3 hostile warp signatures within proximity. "We've got less than 6 hours before they close in." Ilya didn't turn. "How many jump-capable ships do we have left?" "None." Ro said it softly. "Engineering rerouted power to life support and shielding. We've got weapons at 30%. Maybe." There was a pause, then a laugh, dry and bitter, from the commander. "Then we die pretty, at least." Ro didn't smile. His dark eyes were shadowed by exhaustion and the flickering emergency lights. "The crew's scared, but they'll hold. They trust you." She turned then, and her eyes were sharp, cold steel. "I don't want their trust, Ro. I want them angry. I want them to hate what's coming. Because fear slows your hand. Hate sharpens it." He watched her a moment, then nodded. "Understood." She walked past him, boots clicking against the metal floor, moving toward the central tactical table. The ship's holographic layout flickered uncertainly, showing red zones that outnumbered green. Hull breaches on Deck 7 through 9. Environmental controls failing in the lower barracks. And behind all of that, the 3 enemy ships like vultures in waiting. "They've been hunting us for 17 days, she said, hands resting on the edge of the display. First contact turned into an ambush. No warning, no language protocols, just plasma fire and dead friends." "Zeronti," Ro muttered. "The diplomatic channels still haven't translated a single word," she continued. "And now they are following us deeper into Terran sectors. That's not a border dispute. That's extermination." Ro remained silent. She looked up at him, her expression unreadable. "We are the only survivors from the Odyssey fleet. Our data cores have footage, logs, proof of aggression. If they destroy us, humanity won't even know it's at war." Ro exhaled through his nose. "We'll make a stand, then." No, her voice was hard, final. "We make them bleed. Then we run." He tilted his head. "You just said we can't jump." Her lips curved, just slightly. "We can't. But the Aegis can." At the far end of the room, as if summoned, a mechanical figure stepped into view. 8 feet tall, alloy plating dull from carbon scoring, the synthetic combat unit had once been polished silver. Now, it bore the scars of war like tattoos of function. Its eyes glowed faintly blue, and it bowed its head. "Designation, Aegis for reporting," it said in a voice too calm for the chaos around it. Ro blinked. "You activated a jump core in a prototype exosuit." Ilya nodded. "It's experimental. The range is small, and the strain could melt its neural net. But if we load the data cores and set it on a tight vector, it can jump past the blockade." "Barely." "You're going to send it to warn Earth?" No, her tone left no room for discussion. "You're going with it." Ro's mouth opened, closed. Commander, if this is a suicide stand, you need someone who isn't emotionally compromised," she interrupted. "I've seen your file. You're loyal to protocol until it burns. But you question orders when you think you're the only one with a conscience. That's exactly the kind of officer I need making the call when this gets political." The launch bay stank of ozone and burnt carbon. Aegis 4 stood motionless near the external hatch, its reinforced chassis humming with residual power. Ro adjusted the seals on his pressure suit, then double-checked the clamps on the data core mounted to the exosuit's back. It pulsed softly, like a heartbeat trapped in metal. Varga approached from the rear corridor, her movements brisk but deliberate. Despite the shadows under her eyes and the streaks of engine soot across her jawline, she walked like someone who refused to consider failure. Ro envied that clarity. External sensors show debris drift is stable, she said. We'll have 15 seconds of hard cover after launch before the thermal trail spikes. 15 seconds isn't much. It's all we've got, she replied. He nodded, then looked up at the towering synthetic. Aegis, is your jump core stable? The machine's eyes flickered. Within acceptable parameters. Energy output is sufficient for a one-time microjump to the designated relay point. Success rate, 7 to 9%. And the 21. Catastrophic system failure. Likely fatal to organic passengers. Varga stiffened. Ro didn't flinch. I'll take those odds, he said. The synth rotated its torso with a quiet click. If mission failure occurs, is self-destruction authorized? Only if we're captured, Ro said. Otherwise, disable and dump the core. Acknowledgement blinked in the synthetic's gaze. A silence passed between them, filled only by the distant rumble of the ship's reconfigured systems. Then the warning klaxon pulsed once, low and ominous. They're closing, Varga said. Helm reports sublight approach, no comms. Just like before. Ro sealed his helmet, voice modulator hissing as it activated. Then it's now or never. The airlock cycled with a hollow thump. Beyond the outer door, stars waited in silent indifference. Aegis lowered its body, knees folding inward to form a boarding platform. Ro climbed onto its back, securing the straps, while Varga knelt beside the main interface and locked in the coordinates. I left a message loop on encrypted channel 14, she said. If the commander doesn't survive, it'll transmit everything she knew. Ro paused. She knew we'd leave her behind. She planned it, Varga said quietly. She's not trying to survive this. He gave her a long look through the visor. Then we make it worth the cost. The airlock opened, and the void swallowed them whole. Aegis launched like a spear, arms tucked in tight, maneuvering thrusters firing in short bursts as they entered the debris field. Twisted hull fragments and broken solar sails drifted in chaotic silence, casting long, jagged shadows. For a brief moment, they were just more garbage in the wake of a dying fleet. Ro kept one hand on the kill switch, the other on the comm relay. Varga rode behind him, holding fast to the synth's armor plating. Her breathing was shallow, measured. 30 meters, Aegis intoned. Initiating temporal drive. Brace. There was no light, no distortion, just the sudden and sickening sensation of being ripped sideways out of time. Then it was over. Stars blinked back into place, rearranged into unfamiliar constellations. The blackness had shifted, subtly but unmistakably. They were alone now, thousands of kilometers from the Seraphim, and out of immediate danger. Varga released her grip. Core stable. No structural compromise. Ro exhaled, his first real breath in minutes. Then a proximity alert blared. He spun the display around. One contact. Not Zeronti. Not Terran. Unknown. It moved like nothing they'd seen, slender, serpentine, with rotating limbs that reconfigured mid-flight. Its propulsion system left no trail. Sensors registered it as both cold and hot at once. Varga's voice was tight. Could be a drone. Recon unit. Ro stared at the data stream. Or something worse. The contact stopped moving, just outside weapons range. It simply hovered, silent. Then it transmitted. Not in words, but in data bursts, fast, encrypted, dense with layered code. Aegis processed it silently for several seconds before speaking. Message contains non-Zeronti linguistic markers. Temporal layering suggests intentional playback across dimensional variants. Ro frowned. Translate. A pause. Then, through Aegis's speakers, came a voice. Terran vessel. You are observed. Ro narrowed his eyes. Who are you? Silence. Then another burst. We are witness. Not adversary. Varga exchanged a glance with him. Are they watching the Zeronti? Or us? The message resumed. The anomaly must be preserved. You are the fracture point. The one species that resists calibration. Ro felt a chill. What anomaly? There was no response. The contact retreated, blinking out of sensor range without so much as a ripple. Varga stepped back from the console. That wasn't a warning. No, Ro said, still watching the now empty screen. It was a confirmation. We're not alone. Not even in this war. Aegis began reorienting toward the relay coordinates. Recommend immediate continuation of mission. Ro hesitated, then nodded. Engage nav begin long-range transmission to Earth Command. Priority 1. Message payload. He looked toward Varga. Everything. All of it. They turned away as the stars shifted once more, the suit's jump core preparing to leap. Back aboard the Seraphim, the war had already begun. The Seraphim buckled under the first impact. Ilya braced against the command console as the blast wave sent a groan through the ship's hull. Sparks showered from the overhead conduits, and the bridge dimmed to a blood-red glow. Forward shielding at 42%, said the operations officer, voice strained through the comm. Hull plating on Deck 4 is starting to fail. Redirect auxiliary power to internal dampeners, Ilya ordered. Seal off all non-essential compartments and reroute fire suppression to secondary batteries. The comm crackled with half a dozen voices confirming the commands. Beneath it all, the sub-audible rumble of the reactor shifted as systems rebalanced. Ilya moved across the deck with sharp, efficient steps, hands steady even as her heartbeat surged. Every second bought here was one more second for the relay team to get clear. She knew the Seraphim wouldn't survive the hour. The main display flickered before stabilizing, showing the formation of the enemy ships, 3 elongated silhouettes slipping through the void with eerie grace. Their weapon signatures pulsed like heartbeats, synchronized, merciless, inhuman. No hails. No warning. Just annihilation in elegant silence. A crewman at the rear of the bridge turned from his station. Deck 9 reports movement near the old drone bay. Could be a boarding attempt. Ilya didn't hesitate. Dispatch security. Full lockdown protocols. If they are sending a team, they want something, stop them from getting it. The crewman paled but nodded and relayed the order. The enemy ships adjusted position. A new wave of energy pulsed forward, cutting across space faster than light and slamming into the Seraphim's weakened shields. The ship shuddered again, lights flickering. Shields collapsing, came the warning. 30 seconds to critical breach. Ilya activated the override panel on her armrest. All hands, brace for kinetic impact. All non-combatants to sealed compartments. Emergency oxygen reserves online. She could hear the faint sound of hatches locking, bulkheads sliding into place, the ship preparing itself for death as best it could. Then came a different sound, sharp, discordant, almost organic. A distortion. She turned just as the space near the forward viewport shimmered, then twisted inward like light being folded through glass. A shape materialized, humanoid, tall, wrapped in a translucent veil of color that pulsed with alien geometry. No armor. No visible weapons. But every cell in Ilya's body told her it was dangerous. The crew froze. One reached for a sidearm, but Ilya raised a hand. The figure spoke. It didn't use sound, not truly. The words came inside her mind, perfectly formed yet unnatural, like a dream remembered too clearly. You resist. It is not permitted. Her jaw tightened. This is human space. You started this war. We're ending it. The being tilted its head. Not mockery. Not confusion. Calculation. Contact was misaligned. You carry a flaw in your patterning. A rejection of synchrony. Ilya stepped forward. We don't synchronize. We survive. A pulse of energy radiated from the figure, washing over the bridge. Consoles glitched. Lights dimmed. Several crew collapsed, unconscious. Only Ilya remained standing. You anchor anomaly, it said. We remove anchor, universe resumes proper curvature. She narrowed her eyes. You can't erase us. It raised a hand. No. But we can contain. The air between them vibrated, charged with invisible tension. Ilya moved faster than thought, drawing the concealed charge pistol from her hip and firing at the figure's core. The energy bolt passed through it, dispersing harmlessly into the far wall. A whisper, like laughter without sound. Then the figure extended a hand. Reality fractured. She dropped to her knees, gasping as her vision split. For a heartbeat, she saw everything: the dead of the Odyssey, the relay team drifting through warped space, the image of Earth burning under a sun that had no name. Voices from nowhere called her name. A child's hand. A war cry. Silence. Too much. Then it stopped. The figure recoiled, head snapping back. Aegis stood in the center of the bridge. Scorch marks trailed behind it from its unscheduled re-entry. Its armor was cracked, one arm twisted unnaturally, but it moved with purpose. "You will not touch the anchor," it said. The alien turned to face it. No emotion passed between them, but the tension surged like static in a storm. Aegis launched forward, body folding into a blur of speed. The impact shattered the figure's shimmering form into a cascade of refracted light, but no debris remained. No trace. Ilya coughed, vision clearing. "How?" The synthetic knelt beside her. Redirected remaining power from failed jump to orbital trajectory. Re-entry successful. Core data is secure aboard alternate shell. "Ro," she rasped. "Alive. En route. Relay coordinates confirmed." She exhaled, shoulders sagging. Then the deck beneath them shook, violently. The display blinked red. "Core breach imminent," said a surviving officer. "We've lost containment." Ilya stood, teeth clenched. "How long?" 2 minutes, maybe less." She looked at Aegis. "Any chance we can stop it?" "Negative. Overload is irreversible." She nodded once. To the crew, she raised her voice. "All hands, abandon ship. Get to life pods. Burn every signal you've got. Someone needs to tell this story." They scattered. Only Aegis remained behind. "I am not authorized to abandon command personnel," it said. "You are now," she replied. "Go." The synthetic didn't move. She smiled faintly. "Tell Ro he's not allowed to die." "Not yet." Aegis stepped backward toward the launch bay, systems humming with tension. She turned away, walking to the forward viewport one last time. Out there, 3 enemy ships still waited. But farther, beyond the distortion, beyond the war, a new variable had entered the game. They feared humanity not because of what they were, but what they could become. She placed her hand against the glass. And then the Seraphim died. The debris of the Seraphim drifted across the void like a funeral shroud. Chunks of twisted alloy, remnants of scorched hull plating, and shattered interior corridors formed a silent, expanding grave. At the edge of the blast radius, Aegis 4 floated motionless, systems dark except for the flickering amber glow of its ocular sensors. Inside the emergency module clamped to its back, Lieutenant Ro Tanaka sat upright, helmet off, eyes wide but unblinking. The pressure suit clung to his frame, sweat cooling on his skin, as if refusing to let his body believe what his mind already knew. She was gone. Commander Mercer had known the odds, had chosen the end deliberately. There had been no final message, no plea for remembrance. Only action. Unflinching. She'd bought their survival with the last beat of her will. She initiated overload herself, he said aloud, voice rasping. Didn't wait for a breach. From the pilot seat, Varga didn't turn. Her fingers gripped the control array like a lifeline. She didn't want them to get anything. Not her, not the ship, not a fragment of tech. Ro stared at the remains of the Seraphim until his vision blurred. A soft chime pulsed on the sensor array. Aegis reactivated. Long-range surveillance indicates 3 hostiles have ceased pursuit. They are repositioning. "Why?" Ro asked. "Unknown," the synthetic replied. "But I detected a spatial fluctuation seconds before the detonation." Varga finally turned, brows furrowed. "Another one of those distortions." "Negative. This one was different. Compressed rather than expanded. A reverse fold in local spacetime." Ro leaned forward. "Like a gateway closing?" "Possibly." He rubbed a hand down his face. Every step forward revealed a darker path. What had seemed like a simple first-contact disaster now reeked of larger forces. Coordinated silence, technology beyond current understanding, and a race unwilling or unable to explain itself. Now something else had intervened. Whatever had arrived on the bridge in those final minutes hadn't been Zeronti. And it hadn't been human. "Start logging," he said. "Full sensor feed, including the anomaly. Mark and encrypt everything under black protocols. Earth needs to see this raw." Confirmed. The synthetic powered its mobility systems and began slow movement toward the nearest functioning relay point. Varga folded her arms, gaze distant. "If Earth gets this data, we're not heading into a war. We're already in one." Ro didn't respond. She tilted her head toward him. "You believe in the official story?" "No one will," he said. "They'll assume it's sabotage. Or hysteria. By the time they believe it, it'll already be at their doorstep." He opened the secured transmission buffer, cueing the primary core. Aegis would reach relay range in 6 hours, at which point an encrypted beam would transmit everything to command. But even that wouldn't be fast enough. Human bureaucracy moved slower than space. "We need to go back," he said. Varga looked at him like he'd lost his mind. "Back? To what? The wreckage? The enemy fleet? Back to the distortion." Aegis's tone turned cautious. "This unit recommends against approaching the last known anomaly site. Spatial irregularities exceed predictive modeling. Pilot safety cannot be guaranteed." Ro stood. "Neither can Earth's, if we don't understand what just happened." Varga shook her head. "You want to fly into the jaws of whatever that thing was? Why? So you can get torn apart like Mercer nearly was." "She wasn't torn apart," he said. "She was targeted. That entity called her an anchor. Said she resisted something." He moved closer to the viewport. "We've seen 3 factions so far. The Zeronti, us, and something else, something older, or higher, or hidden. They didn't try to destroy her. They tried to remove her. Like a splinter." "You're assuming it was a warning." "I think it was an assessment." Varga stared, searching for words, then finally said, "Even if you're right, what are we supposed to do with that?" Ro turned to her. "Find out why." Aegis interrupted. "Sensor anomaly detected." The display lit with a new contact. Not Zeronti. Not Terran. A structure, massive, half-hidden in distortion. It hovered just beyond known space, indistinct and pulsing, like the ghost of a station built in another dimension. Ro's breath caught. "Magnify." The image resolved only partially. The architecture looked grown rather than built. Interlaced spirals, crystalline spines, and shadowed corridors that seemed to move when not watched. It was alive in some way machines couldn't replicate. Aegis continued. "Structure is emitting no comms, no energy signature. Yet it exerts gravitational presence." Varga whispered, "It's watching us." Ro sat back down, voice low. "Bring us closer." As the emergency module moved on thrusters, the structure remained motionless. But the moment they crossed a specific spatial threshold, everything changed. Their sensors shut off. Lights dimmed. Communications silenced. Even Aegis froze. Then the air shimmered. Inside the cabin, reality tilted sideways. Ro found himself somewhere else. The stars were gone. The module, gone. Varga, gone. He stood on a black surface that stretched in every direction, neither cold nor warm. Above him, a sky that was not a sky, a swirling mosaic of memories and futures and things that never had names. Before him, a figure formed. Not alien. Not quite human. A shape woven from memory and understanding. It took Ilya Mercer's form. But the eyes were wrong. "Your kind fractures the pattern," it said. "You disrupt resolution." Ro swallowed, voice hoarse. "Who are you?" "We are function," it replied. "Maintainers of coherence. This universe was calibrated long before your species learned to name stars." "Then why now?" he asked. "Why attack? Why fear us?" "You are an exception." The form circled him. Others bend. You resist. You propagate unpredictability. And she, your commander, was the point of divergence. You're afraid of us. No. But we must contain you. Rose stepped closer. You can't. Not anymore. The figure tilted its head. You have seen nothing. You have touched the echo of an echo. Turn back. Forget. Live. No. Its expression didn't change. Then you will see. The space folded again. Pain exploded behind his eyes. Not physical, but existential, his identity stretched and dissected by perception beyond comprehension. And then, silence. He woke in the cabin, slumped against the wall. Varga was shouting. Aegis was reactivated. Breach incoming. They found us. The structure had vanished. In its place, a Zeronti dreadnought burned across the void, weapons armed. Ro pulled himself upright. Get us out. But the message. Send it now. Use the backup relay burst. Dump everything. Now. Aegis complied. Outside, plasma bloomed across the stars as the enemy fired. Inside, the core flared. The message launched. And the sky went white.